Okay guys, Private Jack here. Welcome to part 13 in my series on getting a butterfly out of Blender and into Source Filmmaker. 13 has always been a bad number for me, and of course it just happens to be the number that I have to do to get into the advanced QC lesson. So in this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to look at bumping things up a little bit. We're going to use a different model. This guy here looks pretty much the same as the other one. However, what I've done is I've separated out the various body parts into their own objects. And I've added a couple of hats for this guy to wear. So, yeah, Argentina or bust, let's get at her. So, in the session before this, we looked at a very simple plain Jane type QC. This is going to work perfectly for what we need to do with it for that other model. Okay, there's only one body group, there's only one texture, there's only one materials folder, and that kind of thing. We do have an animation in it, and we're going to have the same animation in this model that we're going to work with the advanced QC. Okay, so to bump things up a little bit, what I've done is I have actually created some new textures for this butterfly. I've added the regular one, and I've actually put the helmet and the cap on the same texture sheet. So, but what I've done is I've created a blue and I've created a red texture for it. Where's my red helmet? There it is. Red helmet, blue helmet, and our regular orange monarch butterfly. What we're going to do with this is we're going to actually put these into separate material folders so that the model has to go out and actually look for them. That way I can demonstrate how you would use the CD materials to do separate folders. We're going to do texture groups, we're going to do body groups, and that kind of thing with this QC. So we may as well get started with setting up our textures. Okay, so I'm going to put these textures in a Private Jack models, creatures. Okay, models, Private Jack, creatures. And I'm going to create 3 new folders. I'm going to create an original, I'm going to create a red and a blue folder. Okay, so let's make these folders now. Folder, butterfly, org, new folder. I could put the textures all in one, but then I wouldn't be able to demonstrate what I need to do. So butterfly, red, and butterfly blue. There we go. Okay, so now I've got 3 folders. Let's get these materials into them. So I'm going to put the butterfly helmet, the orange monarch with the helmet, into the org folder. Copy there. I'm going to put the red into the red folder. Copy there. And the blue into the blue folder. Hopefully this is going to work. Like I say, this is session 13, and things have a tendency to go wrong anytime I deal with anything that has something to do with 13. So in the butterfly blue, I've got the blue helmet. In the org folder, I've got the orange monarch butterfly with helmet and hat. And then in the red, I've got the red butterfly with the helmet and the hat. Okay, so now we've got those set up in those particular folders. Let's write our QC. So we're going to create a new file. The basic stuff stays the same. So we've got our CD and where our actual DMXs are going to live. And what I need to do now is I need to set up Blender Source Tools to export that new butterfly. So let's set that up. Export path is going to be to my desktop butterfly, and we're going to call this one, we're going to create a new folder, we're going to call this DMX Helm. Okay, I'm going to drill into that folder and accept that. Now I have to tell it where the engine path is, and of course that's going to be in my common Source Filmmaker game bin folder. I have to now, I'm going to leave the material path blank. I have to give it a game path folder. This is where the game info text file lives, which is in my common Source Filmmaker game user mod folder. Here it is here. Accept that. And now I have to tell it where I'm going to put my QC. And it's going to be in with my DMX files under DMX Helm. Accept that. Okay. Stays red because I have no QC in there right now. Okay, so let's export this particular model. Okay, so now I've got a whole bunch more DMX files, and I'm going to have to set up individual body groups for each of the DMX files. So let's export things. There's going to be 10 10 body statements, maybe. Okay, so 10 files exported in 1.2 seconds. That's good. We didn't have any errors. Remember, if we do have errors, all you have to do is toggle the system console window and have a look. Where are you? There you are. And have a look to see what the actual error was. Fix that error and then export. Okay, so now we've got these things into that DMX Helm folder. Let's go and have a look. And here are my DMXs, and here are my animations. Okay, now if I had a second animation file, what I would do is come down here, and I just happen to have one. Remember I twirled the antenna a little bit? I'm going to come down here to the armature properties, armature, and I'm going to click on that little up and down arrow thing and select the antenna left. Okay, that changed the animation DMX file up here to that antenna left. Remember I told you you can only have one animation in this group of files at a time. Now I will select that here, come up here to export, and I'll select that animation file and export it. And away it goes. Okay, so it exported in 0.3 seconds. Now if I look, I've got two animation files. Okay, so now for the QC. First statement, QC CD to the DMX where I have my DMXs. So I'm just going to pick that up, open it with a quotation mark, close it with a quotation mark. Next thing is now we have to start working with the actual DMX files. What builds the model? Okay, so let's have a quick look here. And we've got the antenna, we've got a body, we've got a hat, a head, a helmet, we've got wings. And basically the only thing that we need to build a body group on, everything else is going to build a changeable body group on, is the actual hat and the helmet. So what we're going to do is we're going to start setting up the model. First command, I have no flexes, therefore I don't have to use the $model. I can use $body, and this is going to be the head. And all I have to do is pick up the head DMX file. Copy that. Quote on, quote off. Next one is going to be the body. So I'm going to pick that up, copy, and body, body, and quote on, quote off. And I just build the model up. Now we'll do the antenna next. And where are we at? Let's do the wings. Now, do I want to turn the wings on and off? No, we'll just leave it advanced but simple. So we'll copy that. Body. And for each, oops, forgot the $sign. That would have caused an error in the compiling. Okay, so this is left front. What you want to do is make your body group name something that the user is going to identify with. Right front. Try and keep your naming conventions the same. And body. Wing. Left rear. Like I say, I use copy and paste, that way I don't get any spelling mistakes when I'm doing this. And body, wing, right rear, okay, now comes the magic. What we're going to cover here is body groups. Okay, what I want to be able to happen is the butterfly be in 3 states. One without a hat on, one with the helmet on, and one with the hat on. Okay, so no hat, helmet, and hat. So the way I do that is I use the body group command. And all it is body group. Body group, not boggy group. Give it a name, hats. And this is where we start. I'm going to go down to the next line, and I'm going to open a curly bracket. The first state that the model is in is, or the first command the model receives is the state that the model is going to be in when it spawns. For right now, I'm just going to put the helmet as the first state. So what we have to do here is, because there is mesh involved, we have to add a command studio. There is no $sign in front of it. pick up the helmet DMX. Oops, don't want to look at it. Just want to copy it. And put that in there like that. So when the butterfly spawns, it will have the helmet on its head. The next state is the next body group in the chain. So because I'm going to put the hat on next. So because there's mesh involved, I have to use a studio command and add the DMX file. Make sure you close off the quotation marks. And the final state is I don't want anything on its head. I just want it to have its butterfly head there. So there is no mesh for that particular state. All I have to do is add the command blank. Once that is done, I close off the curly brackets. And this is the hat's body group. So when it spawns, it'll have a helmet on its head, and then I can use the body groups to change it to the hat, or I can change it so that it's not wearing anything. Now, if I wanted that butterfly to start off in a hatless state, what I would do is I would move blank to the top of the list. And now what will happen is when the butterfly spawns, it will not have a hat on its head. Okay, and then I use the body groups functions in Source FilmMaker to change it to put either the helmet on its head or the hat on its head. Okay, we're going to leave it like this so that the butterfly actually spawns with nothing on its head. Next thing we have to do is materials. So what I've done is I've set up 3 different folders for materials for this puppy. And now I have to identify those particular folders. Let's go back into Source FilmMaker here. Down to Game User Mod, Materials. Into Models. Materials, models, where are you? There you are. Private Jack, Creatures, Butterfly 2. No, Creatures. Stop there. Okay, so our materials are living in 3 different folders right now. So we have to identify the folders that this thing lives in. First one I'm going to do is the original. So $CD materials, and put in the path to that particular folder. Remember, it's relative to the materials folder. So all I require is models, private jack, creatures, butterfly, org. And I'll close that off with a trailing slash. The next one, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Is butterfly red. So all I do is change that to red. And the final one, blue. Blue. So that has my material paths all pointed out for the model. Next thing would be hitboxes, and we'll cover hitboxes in another video. So the next thing I need are my sequences. Here, sequence. The first sequence found in the QC is the default sequence that the model is going to spawn in. So this is going to be my idle sequence. Oh, no, before I go to sequences, I have to do texture groups. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to change the colors of the actual model, okay, through skins. Texture groups equals skins. So $ texture group and the first texture group is the actual, I have to give it a name, so I'm going to call it skin family. Skin families. And I'm going to open up a curly bracket. Now, the first texture must be the same texture as what is found in the actual blender. Okay, so my first texture is butterfly helm. So here I'm going to open up a curly bracket for the first texture group, drop down a line, and I'm going to type in here butterfly helm. Now I don't have any other textures that are going to change, or if I did, I would continue this on down for all the ones that are going to change. But this is the only texture that is going to change. I close off that texture group. I open up another curly bracket, drop down a line, and this is going to be butterfly red. I want the red skin to be the next skin that's available. So butterfly red, I think it is, or it might be helm red. Let me have a quick look here. Got to go back and look at my textures. Creatures. So the org is butterfly helm. The next one is going to be red, so it's butterfly hem red. Now I would have had a black and purple texture if I had to type what I was going to type. So I grab that, come back here, and I might have a black and purple texture from this one. I'll have to go back and look at that one as well. Close off that texture group, open up another one, and this is going to be the blue. So come back in here, open up the blue. Don't want to look at that. And I've just opened it up in GIMP. Grab that file name and drop it in there. Come down here, close off that texture group, and then close off the entire statement with a closing curly bracket. Now let's check out butterfly helm. Into the org, and it's hem, not helm. So I would have had a black and purple texture when the model opened up. Maybe. Oh, no, wrong. It has to be this name, helm. I was right the first time. And I'll get into that when we actually do the export and do the VMTs. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to change these back to helm as well. This is just something else. When we get into the actual making the VMTs, I'll show you what is happening with this particular statement. Next is the sequences. And just like the simple QC, give it a name. The first sequence found is going to be the default sequence that the butterfly spawns in. And I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to grab that DMX file right there. Drop it in here. Space, open up a curly bracket, FPS1. down to the next line and close off the statement. Now for the flapping, and now I have to point to where that actual DMX file lives. Right in here. So I'm going to pick up anims because it's relative to this folder, and grab that DMX name. Don't forget my quotation marks. Remember, I did the animation at 24 frames per second, so it must be 24, or the animation is going to not work properly in Source Filmmaker. And then the final sequence is going to be the antenna left sequence. And that lives in the same folder. So anims. And I'm going to grab that DMX name. Space, open a curly bracket, FPS 24, because that's the frame rate that I used to do the animation in. And close off the curly bracket. This QC is now complete, with the exception of hitboxes, and we'll get into hitboxes in a bit. Okay, so now what I do is File, Save As, point back to where I have my DMXs extracted to, change the file name to butterfly helm.qc, and let's cancel that for a second. Let's get this split up like that. Come in here like that. Come back into Blender Source Tools. Watch my red here when I save the file. File, Save As. Can I still see everything here? No, I can't. Let's move this off to the side a little bit more. Shrink it down a little bit so we can see everything happening on the screen at once. Come in here, File, Save As. I'm going to name this butterfly helm.qc, and watch here and here when I save the actual file. So this will turn gray. Hello. Oh, I know what happened. Butterfly helm, accept. It doesn't have the star QC in here. Start.qc. There we go. Okay, so it looks for all the QCs in that particular folder, and it will actually create a QC button for each QC that it finds. Okay, now that that's done, what should we do? Let's bring up the system console window. We'll pull Blender out of the way, and we'll actually compile this QC right from Blender. Okay, so now that I have that done, I'm in Blender Source Tools. Here's my little button. I push that button, and away it goes. Now I have an error, and oh, that's not good. Remember, I told you this is number 13, and I've got an access violation. And That is not good. Could not load file antenna left DMX. Maybe I didn't. Let's have a look here. It might be due to the fact that I didn't extend this out to where I needed it to go. So I want it to go to 34. 34. Let's see what happens. Okay, we've got the animation running. That's good. Let's re-export this. Export. That. Exported the file good. Let's make sure it exists. And you know what it might be? Is I might have misspelled the actual folder that it lives in the QC. Oh, I see what the problem is. Remember I told you about quotation marks? Well, guess what? I forgot to add the closing quotation mark to that, and that told me right there that I had a problem. So let's file save this again and try again. File save as. We're going to overwrite. Yes. And let's try that export again, or the compile again. So let's bring up the system window and watch what happens. Boop, and away it goes. And now we've got another problem. Error opening, C user butterfly helm model check write enabled. Oh, remember that CD command? Well, there's one of the problems of having a CD command in the actual, if you actually put it into the DMX folder. Let's have a look. No, you know what the problem is? Right here. We didn't tell the gall darn program what to call the file. So, model name. And we're going to call it, we want it to go to the user mod models, which is already known. Private jack. Creatures. Butterfly. Helm. Butterfly. Helm.mdl. Now that we have that in there, we'll close off that quotation mark. File save this again. And now let's see what happens. You'd almost think that I had this planned because I told you we were going to have problems, right? Okay, so let's try it again. Here's our window. Away it goes. Check for write enable. User mod models, private jack creatures, butterfly helm. Helps if you use slashes and not pipes. File save. Boop. Away it goes. There we go. We've got a compile. Okay, so let's have a look at this in our Half-Life model viewer. And it will be black and purple checkerboarded. Why? Because we have not written the actual VMTs for the materials yet. So let's load this up. We're going to go back here to creatures, butterfly helm, open up that model, and like I said, black and purple. Now, let's have a quick look here at the actual model itself. If I click on hitboxes, there should be no hitboxes, and there aren't. This will cause a problem, and we're going to do a separate video on hitboxes. Okay, sequences. I've got the idle sequence, I've got the flap sequence, and I have the antenna sequence. Idle sequence is the default sequence. The model itself, I've got the head, all of the body groups. Here's the hat's body group. Submodel 1, there's no hat on the head. Submodel 2 is the helmet. And let's just see if we can zoom in on this. So there's the helmet. And submodel 3 is going to be, uh-oh, what happened to my hat? Oh, my hat is not sitting properly. I must not have done something right. Here's my hat sitting way up here. So I've got a problem there. It might be the fact that I didn't actually set the hat up properly. But that's not a problem. We know we've got a problem and we can fix it. Okay, so let's go back here. We do have the 3 body groups. As for skins, we have 3 skins. Skin 1, skin 2, and skin 3. We also see that we have an error here for the textures. It can't find one or more of the VMTs. Why? Because we haven't written them yet. Flexes, we have no flexes. Physics, there are no physics. Bones, we have all the bones listed. And hitboxes, none. There are no hitboxes. We're going to do that in a separate session. And that is pretty much it. But we do have a butterfly that is viewable in Source Filmmaker. Broken as it is, it's still a valid model. Okay, so with that, I'm going to close off this particular session, and then we're going to address the problems that we've created, because this is part 13. With that, I'm going to say Private Jack out.